Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our January 2nd, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission. I want to wish everybody a very happy new year. Chairman Parenti is recovering from a minor medical procedure, so he will not be able to attend for the meeting tonight. At this point, I'd like everyone at the table to kindly introduce themselves.
Tom Tarenti.
Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Jack Demergent, Zoning Administrator.
And the first item on our agenda is the review of the December 5th, 2023 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes?
Deb, I just had one minor revision on page 2. It's the fourth paragraph below petition to amend. That date on the third line of December 12th needs a 3. 12/12/23. That's all I have.
Paul or Kevin, any edits?
No.
Okay, then we will entertain a moment to approve the minutes as amended by Tom.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 5th, 2023 minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is old business. Does anyone have old business to come before the commission? Nope. All right. Item number 3 is new business, and per our bylaws, we have election of officers. It's required by section 7.1 of our bylaws. So since Ozzy's not here tonight, I think it's only appropriate that we entertain a motion to retain Ozzy as chairman.
So moved.
We have to pick all the positions.
What do we have now?
Pardon?
Your vice? What do I do?
Secretary.
Your
Secretary?
Yeah.
Are
So
there
we'll
any-
do, do you want to do the slate or one
Just
at
do
a
the
time?
slate.
We could do it as a slate.
All
I
right,
guess,
we
yeah,
could do it as a
long
slate.
it's-
You want to be
Yep.
secretary?
No, you can retain that.
Okay, we're good. Move to retain the slate that we have last year.
With Commissioner Parenti staying as the chair, Commissioner Smith staying as the vice chair, and Commissioner Kaplan staying as the secretary. We have a,
So moved.
All right, can someone second that motion?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, so
congratulations, everyone.
nothing's changed. Item number 4 is zoning enforcement officer's report. Jack.
Sure. Keeping it brief, I know last time I had brought up the POCD and how every 10 years we have to amend it, and sort of diving into that process, it's typically a 6 to 12 month process to adopt and revise it. So I've started looking into getting an idea for how that process usually works, how the commission determines who they want to work with, whoever is going to be doing the mapping, the data updating in our POCD. Last time, I know everyone's familiar with Glenn Chalder, who had worked here before. I got a hold of him, and he was kind of slowing down on his end, so he didn't explicitly say he would be interested in taking up, our revision of the POCD again. But he was kind enough to say that he'd be happy to show up maybe to one of our meetings in February to give myself, who's never done this before, and the commission maybe a good idea of how towns usually go about these revisions. Because again, we're not starting from the ground up. It's really up to the commission the level of alteration that we want to do to this document. I mean, we could be updating just the data and the numbers and really keeping our main language that we have in there today, or we could do, a complete overhaul of it, depending on obviously how the commission feels. So he can kind of give us a little guidance on that, and I'm also looking into Milford. They just did their POCD revision last year. So I have a call with their town planner scheduled this week, and a couple examples of their requests for proposals from these companies that are going to come in and help us.
And that's what happened last time. What's our time frame here, by the way?
I think it's July 17th, 2015 was when we
All right.
adopted the last one.
Okay.
But we don't have to be right on the money with this. It's easy to file for an extension if we were to need it.
Well, no, I was just trying to my recollection, we had a couple of people come in. Okay, you guys can jump in any time.
Well, who was here? I was
right,
here. You were
right, I was here.
And I think Ozzy was here.
Okay. And there were a couple of requests for proposals. In other words, we had Glenn, and I think there was at least one other gentleman, including the old, I don't want to say old, but the former one, Brian something.
Right, Brian Miller.
Right. And we went with Glenn, but my point is we probably interviewed 2 or 3 people.
Okay.
So it would be great if Glenn could get us, or if the Milford person get us a couple of names.
Yeah, we definitely can do that.
Without regard to Glenn coming in and talking to us.
Yeah,
that's
Glenn
fine.
actually did give me, and you know what I'll do is I'll forward the email from Glenn directly to all of you, so
Yeah,
you
makes
have
sense.
the information that he gave me. He was really helpful. He gave me some example.
He's tremendous.
Yeah, for requests for proposals. He gave me really good examples that we can use there. And he gave me a couple names of people that commonly work in our area and, you know, he's dealt with before. So we definitely can do that, but I think our first meeting in February is on the 6th. We didn't, you know, nail anything down in stone yet, but he expressed interest that if he's available, he'd be happy to come in and you know, chat with us if he decides he's not, you know, going to be bidding for this. He made it sound like he was kind of, you know, trailing out of it, so he wasn't committed to it, but I'll talk to him, you know, sometime between.
Personally.
No, we were not driving him away, no. He didn't say he didn't want to work with you ever again, I swear. He didn't.
You put him into retirement.
Right.
Right, yeah, no, he didn't say anything like that, but he expressed interest in, you know, kind of pointing us in the right direction and giving us some help there, so I'm going to start doing that.
And I think the budget is, you know, pretty high. So
Exactly.
What's the process? You have to go to Board of Finance?
So
and
I
request-
think once we kind of get our proposals, and John Cifarelli does know
It's
about
on the
this, and
radar.
I told him, you know, my budget for outside consultants is going to be nowhere near, obviously, what you need for a POCD revision. And he was aware of that, so it's not something that is going to come, you know, as a blindside to them. But again, price, you know, I really don't have too much of a ballpark for you. It's,
Our guidepost is already 10 years old, so. I don't
exactly,
know.
yeah. So it could be, you know, I think in my preliminary conversations, it was anywhere between, you know, $50,000 and $100,000. But again, our level of alteration is gonna be determined by the services we need, or other way around. You know, if we're gonna be doing a complete, brand-new document, obviously it's gonna cost us a little bit more than just updating the one we
If
have.
you can get me the number for Glenn, what we paid for Glenn, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
That was pretty extensive. I mean, he held like public hearings or little meetings.
Right.
Not public hearings.
No, he did a lot of stuff,
With
I remember
different
that.
boards,
Right, we probably don't need,
that level.
but I mean, it's 10 years and
Yeah.
things have changed, so,
New
Right.
state laws.
yeah.
I think a lot of our, you know, language in there might stay the same, but a lot of the data and census numbers and all that are gonna, you know, obviously change. Obviously, we want to promote economic growth, and, you know, things like that will be consistent, but we really do have to go through it and, you know, see what we want to change, and I think our fee is gonna end up being is determined by that.
I'm just trying to get a guidepost.
Yeah. So I will talk.
Economic growth, is that, we should.
We are promoting economic growth, yeah. So I'm gonna get that kind of started with the finance department and just getting them on, you know, the same page as us and something that we're gonna be tackling this year. Again, we are still ahead of the curve, you know, we're not under the gun to be doing this, but it is something that takes longer. Takes longer than I initially thought it did, so you know, I'm happy we're starting to look at it early. Other than that, my update is some of the buildings at 329 Smith Farm Road are being CO'd. Not all of them. They did their permits individually for the buildings, so if they finish one and are still doing some punch list items on another, they can still get their CO. So 2 buildings were CO'd last week, and I know a couple others are coming down the pipeline, but other than that, that's all I got for you.
Okay. All right, then we will move on to our public hearing. We have a new application for this evening. I will ask Paul to kindly read the public notice.
To appear one time on Wednesday, December 20th, 2023, and one time on Wednesday, December 27th, 2023. The Orange Town Plan Zoning Commission notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, January 2, 2024, at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following: the application for a special permit and use and site plan application submitted by Solely Engineering, LLC, for the property known as 88 Marsh Hill Road. Proposed development consists of 80,437 square foot community travel center with drive-through facility and a 23,500 square foot electric vehicle showroom with associated parking, landscaping, drainage, and utility improvements. Copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department, dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 19th day of December, 2023.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
And is the applicant ready to present?
We are, Madam Chair. For the record, John Nuff, 135 Broad Street in Milford, here tonight on behalf of Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings.
Last name for me, please, I'm sorry.
My last name?
Yes,
Yes, K-N-U-F-F.
thank you so much.
They are the contract purchaser of the subject parcel, 88 Marsh Hill Road, LI2 zone, 4.52 acres. Before I start, I would just want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. I want to, you're all familiar with the site, you're familiar with the right change, you're familiar with the last application. I just want to, bring you up to date on how we got to where we are today. And then I'm going to turn it over to Luke Morrow, our professional engineer from Solely Engineering. And I just want to point out that Noble's principal, Michael Frisbee, is in attendance this evening as well. So as you recall, on June 7th, 2022, you approved the right change that made electric vehicle showrooms and community travel centers special permit or special use approval uses in the LI2 zone. Then in September of 2022, Solely Engineering on behalf of Noble submitted a special permit application. The public hearing before this commission did not open until January. It opened and closed that same night. And then in a sort of an oddity, after the public hearing closed, then it went to the Traffic Authority. The Traffic Authority meeting took place on January 9th. And I think there was some confusion, if you read the minutes of the Traffic Authority, as to what the process was with the DOT and trying to get DOT approval. And so by the time that got done, it came back to you on January 17th, and the hearing was closed. Frankly, there's no opportunity for the applicant to explain that you can't get a comment from DOT until after you get your local approval. So we did take an appeal from that denial. That appeal is still pending. Frankly,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but my recollection was that the report from the local traffic authority had indications. I know you guys didn't have a chance to rebut it.
right.
But we acted on that report,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay.
correct, 100%. And we didn't have a chance to rebut it. We took an appeal. I've been working closely with Attorney Marino, working closely meaning no one's done anything in anticipation of submitting a new application so that, the appeal, our hope is that we can end up in a place where we can withdraw that. So in the intervening time, we've been able to do a new traffic study based upon real-world data, and that new traffic study has been submitted to the Traffic Authority. We were before them on November 13th. They gave us a unanimous 3-0 positive referral with regard to the traffic, and then the new special use application was submitted to all of you. So what you're seeing this evening is largely the same as what you saw during the two rate change processes, the special permit process literally a year ago. But the most substantive change, the only change, is with the traffic, and I think that's obviously the most important part. So I'm going to let Luke just remind you about the site plan, and then highlight the changes in the traffic report and how we got to those changes.
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, Luke Morrow with a professional engineer in the state of Connecticut, professional traffic operations engineer with Solely Engineering Office in Monroe, Connecticut.
Spell your last name.
Yep, Mauro.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so just going to refresh everyone's memory really quick. So the site, as you can see, is located at the southwest corner of Marsh Hill Road and the Interstate 95 exit 41 northbound off-ramp. It was the former, I believe it's vacant now, but it was a former floral distributor and nursery over there. So the site, as John mentioned, is about 4.5 acres. It's located in the LI2, Light Industrial 2 zone. It's developed with about 27,000 square feet of 2 industrial buildings, and there's a bunch of both paved and gravel parking lots located on the site. And there is a small wetlands pocket, as you can see, down over here. There are no direct wetlands impacts. However, we did receive wetlands approval previously before we came before you last year. So in the proposed condition, I'll direct everyone's attention again to the rendering we have provided. So the development consists of about an 8,400 square foot community travel center. It's going to be 3 co-tenants in there, along with your typical convenience store offerings. There'll be a coffee shop, an ice cream shop, and a sandwich shop as well. That'll all be serviced through the drive-through. It also includes an outdoor dining area, seasonal patio area, plan west towards me, adjacent to the ice cream shop. There's 16 fuel pumps located underneath that larger blue rectangle you see in the middle. There's 8 electric vehicle charging stations, which are underneath the canopy, the smaller square canopy you see towards the top. And a 27,500 square foot EV showroom, which is the kind of U-shaped building you see towards the west side. And there's also a total of 96 parking spaces. Also work included drainage, utilities, landscaping, lighting, other site work improvements associated with the development. The site will be accessed as before via a singular full movement driveway, kind of centered on the property itself. However, compared to last time, we're proposing an unsignalized driveway rather than a signalized driveway, based on our traffic analysis, which I'll get into a few minutes. There is also, if you recall last time, the fire marshal had asked for a secondary form of emergency vehicle access. So we're providing that in the form of a pervious paver driveway, because we don't want anyone else to kind of use it except as an emergency. So that's located, I hope everyone can, that's located over here for emergency vehicle access. Additionally, we provided circulation all the way around the building for fire truck access as well. To address comments. Okay. Okay. In terms of stormwater management, there's a slight increase in impervious area over the existing conditions, about 0.1 acres or so. So to attenuate the flows, there's a small underground detention system that's proposed within the little turn circle in front of the EV showroom. And runoff is controlled by a small outlet control structure before outlets to the wetlands on the south side. There's some water quality measures also included as part of this development in the form of a stormwater a swirl chamber, a hydrodynamic separator before anything is discharged to the wetlands, and there's also a small grass-lined water quality drainage swale that's located on the south side of the proposed C-store building. To note, we're not aware of any water quality measures on site at this time, so there should be substantial improvement to the water quality exiting the site to those wetlands. And of course, everything was designed in accordance with the Connecticut DOT Drainage Manual and the State Water Quality Manual. In terms of soil erosion sediment control measures, not depicted here, but it's essentially it's a 2-phase plan. One is for demo of existing conditions, and one is for proposed construction. Measures included will be inlet protection for all the existing and proposed stormwater basins, catch basins on the site to collect any sediment before it gets into the system itself. And then in the temporary case, there'll also be some temporary sediment traps to allow any construction runoff to settle out before it eventually discharges to the wetland during the construction condition. And there's also a riprap construction entrance to stop any tracking, off-road tracking from any construction vehicles entering and exiting the site. As far as utilities go, all utilities, public utilities located within Marsh Hill Road on the east side of the property. As far as landscaping and lighting goes, there's a variety of trees, shrubs, and ground plantings. Our aim is a goal. Our goal is around 80% native species. That's what we typically try to aim for in our landscaping design. You'll see pockets of landscaping throughout the entire site. Some nice plantings along the street, and then we tried to get all the interior end islands as well, and then up some of the wetlands plantings along the building. Plantings along the building and along the wetlands pocket on the south side as well. And then site lighting will be designed, it's high efficient LED fixtures. Everything will be dark sky compliant with either full cutoff or shielded to prevent glare and any kind of light trespass over the site to the greatest extent feasible. So I'll move on to traffic.
Pardon me.
Go ahead.
Do you want to deal with questions about the
That's what I was gonna say.
engineering as we do the engineering portion?
That's
or
fine.
at
We
the
can do
end?
that, and then I can go into
Which
traffic.
do you prefer?
That's fine. We can do site-related questions now.
What does anyone
Yeah,
prefer?
that's fine.
Okay.
As we hit a topic and you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
do you mind? Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Right, so, on the site engineering, okay, so, first question, the proposed pervious paver emergency driveway is the connection that was added at the south end of the electric vehicle showroom from the back parking lot set up as pervious pavement
Yes.
also?
Yes, and they would be designed to withstand, heavy vehicles such as a fire engine.
Okay, so they'll take an H20 loading.
Yes.
But it'll be like
Grass growing through.
grass creep type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
So you shouldn't really notice it. It should look like lawn for the most part. Correct.
okay. You mentioned that there was some retention system in the circular courtyard to the electric vehicle
Yes.
showroom, but unless I'm mistaken from the plan, it's only taking roof runoff from the electric vehicle showroom.
Yeah, correct. Because there was only an increase of 0.1 acres, we only needed a small amount of attenuation to match existing flows. So that's the reason why. I think it's 24 4x4x4 retained chambers.
And so you chose to take the runoff from the roof into that?
In order to accommodate, for the most efficient design of the site, yes. And because that roof runoff is clean, it can perk into the ground without any treatment, was the goal. Because there'll be some percolation, that'll occur through those open bottom chambers.
All right, and would that also answer why, since you chose to treat roof runoff that way, the roof runoff from the convenience center does not run into it? It runs out onto
Yes, it runs.
the other system?
Yes, some of it. So some of it'll flow through. There's a riprap little channel, and then a stream, a grass line swale that kind of gets some of the runoff on the south side through the drive-through, and then yes, in theory, yes, there's the clean roof runoff from the community travel center as well. It will be treated through the hydrodynamic separator as well.
Okay, but it's being treated like
It's
surface
be-
runoff?
Correct.
right.
Even though it's clean. Correct.
And so there is no water quality requirement that roof water be treated differently than,
No, generally speaking, roof runoff can go directly into the end source.
Okay.
It can go directly into wetlands because it's clean, or directly into, a DOT drainage system, in that regard. However, in this case, in order to make that connection work, and then, so that they're going to combined at the storm scepters can only accommodate pipes at a certain angle. So they're coming in, getting treated on one side of the weir, and they're going through the swirl mechanism, and then out into the wetlands on the south side.
Okay.
So yes.
In your stormwater calculations for designing that retention, I think you made a bit of a error. You made in that the roof is only 12,000 feet, and you calced it out at 25,000 feet, the size of the whole building. It's a two-story building. So when you look in the table, I mean, it's just
EV
bigger.
building.
It may be bigger than it has to.
For the building on the west side?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that could be a mislabel within the, because we do check pervious. I will double check that, but in the case you're correct, it would be conservative and
Yeah,
oversized.
it says it's a half acre, which would be roughly thinking that it's the whole building, not just the roof.
Okay. I'll check, yep.
If anything, it's bigger than it needs to be.
All right. I noted. Thank you for pointing that out. Well,
Okay. So, no, that's traffic. The way that the runoff areas were divided, it looks like the site could be broken up into two phases of construction. Like you could do the community center first and then and segregate it from the electric vehicle showroom if they wanted to do that in a second phase. Is that been discussed, or is that something we should be aware of, or?
I mean, I think, and Mike, I might defer to you, but I think the end goal is to get the convenience store and gas up and running first, and then proceed with the construction of the EV showroom after. That's right.
Okay. But and we'll get to it in the traffic design is based on the full build condition.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry, let's see, make sure I didn't. Sorry about that. Okay, could you do the traffic? Thanks.
Yeah.
All right,
Just so,
I'll
sorry.
just do
Oh,
some.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, the
stormwater
park.
management. The canopies for the EV charging
Yes.
and the gas pumps, where will that runoff go?
So that runoff is it's gonna be collected through header pipes, and then it'll also go ultimately through the storm scepter, water quality unit, and then to the wetlands. Yeah.
And what percentage again are you increasing the impervious surface?
So we're increasing 0.1 acres. So if I had to guess, it's about 5%-ish. I think it's about 0.1 over 2.5 acres, something like that. It's pretty small.
And can you speak to the topography a little bit? I don't recall, does it come down a little from the
Yeah,
street?
so I mean, it's above, let me pull up.
I'm sure it's on it.
So,
So, existing conditions, the highway is a couple feet higher than, call it the elevation of the building here, about 4 to 5 feet. And and then as you get towards the back, it's the highest point in the site. So it comes down about, 5 to 7 feet from Marsh Hill Road, about 5 to 7 feet from the 95 off ramps, and then probably about 10 feet or so from the back of the site. And then that's existing conditions. And then in the proposed case, so the highway ramp, for argument's sake, is around elevation 89. Our building here is around elevation 86. Both of them are about elevation 86. So we're a couple feet lower than the off-ramp itself. And the reason we can't raise it, we can't really change it much more is because of, we're also competing with the topography along Marsh Hill Road. So we're about 3 to 4 feet lower than Marsh Hill Road as well.
Okay, so you're going to raise it up a little bit.
We're raising it up
Yep.
slightly, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Probably, on average, probably 2 to 3 feet. And we're developing there's some cuts in the back as well, because this is all some gravel area, but it's kind of, we're making a cut here about 4 to 5 feet, so raising most of it, but in the back there are some small cuts.
Okay.
Minor on the parking summary table. The total number of parking spaces on the site is correct at 96, but you got some real fuzzy math in the proposed parking. It adds up to 120 some odd, so just the math's off in the table. '96 is correct.
So I think what our asterisk means is we excluded those, in the total count, we excluded, but they're there for people to use. So that's an additional 24 parking spaces, if that makes the math work out. So we're showing
I think it still
96
is off a couple.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We'll verify, but so though you have those additional 24 parking spaces that are excluded from the requirement, but, technically, when people are getting gas, they're parked there, or filling up with an EV charger.
And this is a question for both yourself and our zoning enforcement officer. Are we, as the town engineer, and are you comfortable with the standards used to generate the required parking?
Was part of our approval for the text amendment. The text amendment to allow for a commercial vehicle, or electric vehicle showroom in the community travel center was part of the amendment proposed, so we approved it at those rates.
Right.
And we were comfortable with that at the time. We had no reason to think it would be.
Okay, but, sorry.
I believe there was ITE data, I didn't present it, I know it was like 2 years ago, but I believe there was ITE data to back up those parking rates, I believe.
Yeah. So in other applications, when people have outdoor dining and seating, that generated some requirements.
It does, yeah, you have, but I believe they took that into account here too.
Yes, the patio.
Right, the patio is included.
Yep, the 744 square feet for the
Yes,
patio is
yep.
included. Yep. So that 2690 is the breakdown of the restaurant space within the building, and then we added the 744 for the patio area as well.
Right. So, but are you saying that for the travel center, we approved 8 spaces per 1,000? And whether it's a patio with 50 chairs on it or not, which would generate a different parking requirement in other zones, that's what we're going to use. We're going to do it on square footage, not on seats.
That is how
That's the
our,
town standard.
yeah, that's how
That's how we
our.
do it.
Yeah, that's how
That's
we've
the
always
town
done it for the outdoor patios.
Okay?
I mean, for argument's sake, it's probably well over parked than what it needs to be. What we find is most town requirements, we provide, parking to be compliant, but a lot of times, a lot of that parking remains unused.
Community travel center, 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet for retail area, plus 8 spaces per 1,000 square feet of restaurant area.
So you're going to consider the patio part of the restaurant?
Restaurant area, yeah, that's what it looks like,
Okay.
yeah.
Right, sorry. traffic.
No, it's okay. Anyone else have site-related? Okay. All right, so as John had alluded to, we had received a negative referral from Traffic Authority in early January of last year. The main concern brought up was the proximity of the proposed traffic signal with the two existing signals at the off-ramp and at the former SCG driveway, and how coordination and queuing may be affected by having those three signals in close proximity to each other. I do want to note, and I think we all kind of read the peer review letter together before that meeting and agreed that we had received what appeared to be a sign-off from the peer reviewer, and then things kind of changed at a police commission meeting after we had received that sign-off letter from WSP. So a combination of the three signals in close proximity, along with DOT's unwillingness to kind of commit to coordinating that signal or possibly maintaining that signal, as John had mentioned, because they won't take any kind of action until Planning and Zoning approves a project. So that said, a new Noble Travel Center opened in East Lyme recently. It's at 51 Boston Post Road. If anyone's familiar, it's right before the split for 395 when you're kind of going up towards Mohegan Sun over there. Yep. So we did traffic counts about 2 to 3 weeks after it opened, and we used that data that we collected at the site there in East Lyme, and then we added back in the EV showroom volumes because that site does not have an EV showroom to develop the new traffic volumes for this facility. So in terms of the appropriateness for that site, it is located right off the highway, similar to the Orange site is. That's exit 75 off of 95. It has the same number of fuel dispensers. It has the same three offerings: a coffee shop, ice cream shop, sub shop. It also has a diesel fueling area, which we don't have. So considering there is that additional diesel fueling area, and the site had only been open for a few weeks, we think these volumes are I don't want to say conservative, but they should represent what we should expect here at the Orange site as well. So we reran the analysis, and I guess before I get into that, just direct everyone's attention to the comparison, and I'll come back over to this microphone. But as you can kind of see here, based on the ITE data, which we submitted in the original study last year, we were looking at around close to 500 trips or so during the AM peak hour, around 419 trips during the PM peak hour. That's in and out combined, not 419 in and 419 out. And then about 475 total trips during the Saturday peak hour around lunchtime. And the data that empirical data we counted from East Lyme, and then adding in the EV showroom as well, ended up with about 160 new trips during the morning peak hour, which is about a third of the 486. The PM peak hour was around 286 trips based on the empirical data compared to 419, so that's about 2/3 of the ITE estimates. And then during Saturday, Saturday midday peak hour, 277 trips based on the empirical data compared to 475, which is about 60% of the ITE rates. In our opinion, I think it's likely due to what we called shared trips. ITE does allow for shared use trips, meaning that someone getting gas is also going to buy a coffee, you know, or buy a sub or get an ice cream or, you know, use more than one use on site at a time. However, Connecticut DOT doesn't really allow us to take count for those shared use trips. Every individual use has to be counted separately, which ultimately kind of inflates the numbers provided in the analysis. It also, per Connecticut DOT guidelines, we're capped at 20% of what's called pass-by trips, meaning that pass-by meaning trips that are already on the road that are just passing by the site and say, hey, I want to stop and get gas, or hey, I want to stop and get a coffee. DOT limits us to a maximum of 20%, but I think we can all agree in reality, a lot of times you're driving home past the gas station and you're going to stop and get gas or a coffee. So likely those numbers, that percentage is higher, and the total new trips will likely be lower. But you know, based off the empirical data we counted, we're very comfortable with those numbers. So we reran the analysis. And I will just flip over to this side. You'll see essentially that post-opening, we expect that the levels of service and delays experienced at the intersections within the network. So that's from all the intersections on Marsh Hill Road, from the Southern Connecticut Gas driveway up to the southbound exit ramp at the UI driveway, remain generally the same as they do in the no-build conditions in the build year. The analysis shows, now that we're not providing a traffic light at the site driveway, there's really no queuing concerns. I know there was some concern that if queues backed up northbound or southbound, it may limit people's ability to get in and out of that driveway. But without that signal there, there's no real queuing or delay concerns or flow of traffic along the Marsh Hill Road corridor in front of the site there. Any queuing that will occur would be accommodated on site, and people, you know, during the busier times, people are going to have to wait for a gap, you know, in traffic to get out. But considering we do have signals 250 feet on either side, you know, when that light turns red on the main line, it does provide that opportunity for people to get into the flow of traffic from an operations perspective. So, so we presented these findings to the Traffic Authority. They had some questions, but generally they were comfortable with the revised numbers, the revised analysis, you know, and the proposal to remove the traffic signal. So, so essentially the same site design, just with an unsignalized driveway, you know, at the entrance and exit there on Marsh Hill Road.
In a summary, are there any levels of service that are degraded post-development?
No, I mean, overall, everything is generally remains the same. I mean, you have, so the northbound exit ramp at West Campus Drive UI, they all maintain a level of service C. Marsh Hill Road at the sorry, that's the driveway just to north of us. The UI driveway on the north side of the highway, all maintaining levels of service, CCB overall. This is the Homewood Suites driveway. Unsignalized intersections operate slightly different. We only look at where there's a stoppage in traffic, but they're all going to maintain levels of service B, because there's really not that much, you know, traffic during the peak hours coming in and out of that driveway. Salemi Lane, same thing. Coming out of Salemi Lane and the turn in, generally maintain, or they do maintain the same levels of service. On the northbound and southbound approaches of Marsh Hill Road, our site driveway, everything is free-flowing, so operates at an A or a B. The site driveway, you'll notice we have some degraded levels of service. That's somewhat typical of a stop-controlled driveway and a free-flowing movement. You know, we all know we've been on Route 1 during those peak periods of time, and sometimes you're waiting. You know, level of service D cuts off at around 45 seconds or so. So, I mean, that's what we would typically expect to see. But that's simply related to traffic trying to exit the driveway in those peak hour periods.
Is that the left-hand, taking a left out?
That's
Marshall?
exactly correct, yep. But the left-hand turn-in, functions at a level of service C, which is up to like 25 to 30 seconds of delay. So shouldn't be any issues getting in, but during those peak hour periods, mostly during the evening peak when people are leaving work and trying to get gas or get home, there'll be some delays. But contained to, the site driveway itself, and the site can handle, the queues that are expected.
So to put it on a bumper sticker, to the extent that there's a problem egressing the site, it will be contained on the site.
Correct.
And the adverse impact will be absorbed by the
By
site.
the development, correct.
So the fact that you have 2 cars storage before you start cutting off the flow of traffic around the pumps is, you're thinking that the red signal time on the existing traffic lights will create gaps and opportunities to flow.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. And for what it's worth, when we report 95th percentile queue, which is the queue in the worst case, that's less than 5% of the hour. So you're talking 2 to 3 minutes. You have that, instantaneous queue for that long. The rest of the time, we're talking about queues about 3 to 4 cars at the most during those busier periods. And then outside those busier periods, it would be, less than that. Myself, and I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but I find, if I find there's an issue, I'll go at an off-peak time. And I think people will start to realize that, get an idea of how, things function, and kind of, if they need it and they're willing to, they'll wait for it. If not, they'll go, and they'll adjust their time accordingly when it's not, not as busy.
Luke, if I read your report correctly, you neglected the platoon gaps, or whatever that term you used was.
Oh, no, so basically, what we call it, we call the platoon gap is basically when the light turns red. It gives, it puts, yes, it gives you that gap in order to make the turn out, which is, typically how any unsignalized driveway would function on a busy road, especially when it's in proximity to a traffic signal. Yep. But yes, if you were to take the gaps into consideration, and unfortunately, the modeling software isn't that smart at this point, we would expect that those queues would probably be not as bad as the results output.
So, truck turning. Appendix of the traffic report does the truck turning figure. And for a WB 67, which is a standard medium-sized tractor trailer and cab, and what this looks like is if you're taking a delivery, they've got a K-turn out to get out. So it looks like you get into the site, but to get out, you've got to pull forward, back up, and turn out. So should someone else speak to the operations about why that's not going to go on during the middle of the day and shut this place down?
And do you have general hours you expect fuel deliveries, or?
Is this for fuel deliveries or?
This
is
is
it
just for
convenience
fuel,
store?
for fuel deliveries, to pull up alongside the underground fuel tanks and get out. So generally speaking, when we run truck turns, we do it with the WB62. Most of the time, a fuel delivery is a smaller truck. It's like a WB50, but typically when we do it per DOT standards, they don't accept a WB50 anymore because AASHTO hasn't used it since like 2004 or something like that. So we use a slightly larger truck than what we expect on the site. So with a smaller, say WB50, we normally provide 30 feet clearance all around there so that they can kind of make that turn. So this is somewhat conservative, but, you know, if it was a WB50, it's likely they could pull the full turn around that canopy and get out.
Could you give some testimony on the deliveries that are going to service either the showroom building and/or the community travel center as to what type of vehicles they're going to be taking in and how they're going to get in? I guess with an electric vehicle, they can drive the hell in, but
Good evening. For the record, my name is Michael Frisbee. I'm the owner of Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings and Noble Gas.
Could you spell your last name?
Sure, Frisbee, Frisbie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To address the truck turning, first of all, so our canopies are high enough so the truck could actually go underneath the canopy if they needed to make that turn. And like Luke had mentioned, that we generally have the smaller truck come in versus the larger one, so we know we can fit. Our drivers deliver to downtown Hartford on about, you know, a half of an acre site that, and they make it work, and they get in, and we make that turning movement pretty easy. So they'll be happy to come to a site that's this big, be able to get in and out of. With regard to the EV showroom and service center, this particular offering will have limited amount of vehicles. You're gonna have a couple of vehicles in the showroom, and then they'll deliver vehicles one at a time to people that are buying them. So if you're buying, like I did, I bought a Rivian, I go to the showroom, my car shows up and I'm there. They're not on tractor trailers full of different vehicles as they come in, because it's not a real dealership, if that makes sense. So you're not gonna have big trucks coming in with multiple cars on it at the same time. It's gonna be on a site, a per purchase basis when they bring and deliver the vehicles.
okay, and deliveries for the travel center?
For the travel center, we generally have smaller vehicles. We'll have a tractor trailer truck on, a smaller truck for Coke and Pepsi that come in with the smaller trucks. That's generally the most that we get. We get that once or twice a week to fill up our stores. And then the food offerings themselves will have weekly deliveries. And they'll generally just come in at off-peak periods to come in and deliver into the stores. So they're not coming in during the normal course of business to deliver product when they're servicing the customers.
And they would just park in one of the conventional striped parking areas?
Yep,
these
and
deliveries?
actually, we have space, you know, we have space and to come, they could come in the back of the drive-through and wrap around the building. And there's space in the pass-through lane there. That's generally where the trucks would park and then bring product into the store. That's how we direct them. Sometimes they just go wherever they want, but that's what we try our best.
And we did try to provide, I think it's a 10-foot, my eyes here, there's a 12-foot wide. You can see that crosshatch area in the rear, so they can kind of pull out of the way if needed as well.
Okay. And the fire truck turning, the fire marshal does his own
Yep.
little,
Sir,
okay.
Yeah, and that's why we ended up with the.
Thank you, by the
Yep.
way.
That's why we ended up with the emergency. He had concerns with being able to traverse around the whole site. So we gave him the turning movement templates to show that it works with those pervious paver areas, and he was happy and signed off.
And did you give testimony on the size of the travel center, square footage-wise?
About it is slightly over 8,400 square.
437?
8,437 square feet.
No, for the comp you're using in traffic. We're talking traffic now.
The East Lyme is the same size. It's the same, yep, it's the same exact proto.
Okay. I
Yep.
just didn't hear that for some.
No, you don't, no, it's the same proto inside. It looks, same offerings. Yep, everything is exactly the same.
And I had Jack check the population of East Lyme, and it's about 18,000, and we're 12.5, so that's all comparable. It's not like it was a little tiny town, and.
Yep.
And can you just let me know, what is the distance between the, sort of the corner of the canopy near the filling stations and,
Property line?
yeah, to where they're gonna be queuing to take that left onto Marsh Hill? Like, how many cars do you think could queue there?
So it's about, call it 80 to 90 feet, and we generally use 20 to 25 per car, so probably can get 4 to 5 cars comfortably in there, probably 4 cars comfortably in there.
Luke, I believe in your report, you said the peak queue was 7-point-something cars.
Yeah, 7 cars, so in those.
Congested, doesn't it?
Yeah, in those instances, and again, that's what we call 95th percentile queue, so probably, once or twice in the hour in the worst case. But other than that, it would be, we would expect 3 to 4 car queue. And and then, in the non-peak times, it would be, generally handled within that queue space.
Hours of operation for the convenience store, that's 24/7?
That's the request, yes.
Okay, and then for the EV showroom?
Probably like a 9 to 6, 9 to 5 kind of, or I guess, I don't know if we can commit to it, but do you want, sorry, Mike.
The
the
plan
name
for
again?
the EV showroom and service center is to start service in the morning, but the showroom hours would generally be 11 to 7. So people come after work generally, but it will probably be adjusted accordingly based on the users, because we're expecting to have multiple tenants. So you'll have several different EV companies inside that building. I call it my EV Apple Store. You have a couple different tenants with a couple different styles of cars. So they-
There will be several different manufacturers.
Yes, that's the intent, right? So we have a couple different locations in Connecticut with the same program, and we're working with several different EV car manufacturers that they can come into the space. So I drive a Rivian, and Rivian has 2 models. They have a pickup truck and an SUV. That's it. All they need is, 1,500, 2,000 square feet, and they would show off those 2 vehicles, and they'd have cars that people can test drive, and then you can pick online what you want. So they wouldn't need the whole showroom. But then you
Just
have
to
other.
describe the process, a little bit off topic, but
Yeah.
describe the process. They come in, they make a decision.
Yep, so
They do the sale there or no?
So it depends on the maker, right? So right now, in Connecticut, you can't buy direct from a
Right.
non-dealer source. So we could have a dealer source in there selling specifically EV cars.
Right.
Or we could have, if the legislation changes by the time we build this, then we could have direct sales. So that's the intent, is to have more than one offering inside that building with different EV manufacturers.
So my question goes to the issue of once they decide on the vehicle, let's say the dealer is right there, how do they get their car?
So they would deliver that car there, and then you go through the normal car
So the
process,
delivery
yeah.
is going to is going to be on-site?
Yeah, so that you go in there, you test drive, you pick out a car, they order it. Like it took me almost 3 years to get my Rivian once I ordered it, right? And I had to pick it up in Massachusetts because I couldn't pick it up here in Connecticut. But the idea is that they would come in, test drive it, and then they would be able to pick it, they'd order it, it'd show up there, and then you'd be able to take it home from there. And
It would be in the parking lot where the cars would be delivered?
yeah, or in the showroom, because they're EV cars, regular
Just
cars
drive
can go
in.
inside the showroom and be in the showroom, just like more like a normal car buying experience, except that you don't have 100 cars on the lot, you pick one. So, and then you'll be able to have it serviced there. And it's a higher end service call, if you will, so it's computers, electrical, all that stuff, and we're working with the local community colleges on the trade side to be able to provide some of those jobs for this, so. Yeah.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
My recollection, and this may be from Michael, I'm not sure. My recollection was that it was 20 to 25 minutes for the recharging?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So the the DC fast chargers that we're specing for each of the Noble locations are 350 kilowatt units, which can give you a full charge in 18 to 22 minutes. If you're at 50%, it's 9 to 10 minutes, depending on when you're at that level charging.
All right. How many of sort of these facilities do you have
So-
with both the EV and the convenience store and the gas station?
So we have 15 Noble locations in Connecticut, or 14 in Connecticut. We just opened our first one in Massachusetts 2 weeks ago. And out of those, we have 5 that have level 2 chargers. But we've submitted letters of intent for 11 locations for the NEVI program, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. So we submitted letters of intent on 11 of our locations that fit into the criteria for the state of Connecticut. We just, on Friday, just got accepted, all 11 got accepted to go into the next level for that process. So we've already put the infrastructure into 5 more stations so that we can support the DC fast chargers. And our intent is to put them in at all of our locations as we move forward.
But in Connecticut,
So
in the orange location, it would be the fast chargers.
it would be the fast chargers, yes, sir. Yep. What we're building is all new to industry now, so we're just supplying the infrastructure for that as well. In East Lyme, we have the level 2 chargers now with the infrastructure for the fast chargers, waiting for the NEVI program. We've been working with the Connecticut DOT for almost 2 years on the NEVI program.
Anything else from the commission? Anyone in the public have anything to add? No. Are you done with your presentation?
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Jack, does the application have all the sign-offs from department heads? I know the town engineer had 5 points way back from November 21st that he wanted to address. That's all been
Correct,
done.
yes, and I believe he provided solely with those comments before they submitted to us, so they were incorporated in the plans that you all had before you.
And if the hearing's not closed yet.
It is not closed.
Okay, I'll go in and I can double check that count, and maybe we need to adjust that note about the parking spaces.
Oh,
For
the
confusion,
number.
yes,
Okay, yeah, okay.
You know, if it's a condition
Yep.
of approval or anything, we're gladly, to do that for everybody.
Gotcha.
So Jack, I didn't hear that. That was all the heads, I saw Jamie's
Correct, yeah. It has
signature.
been reviewed by the necessary department heads and gotten the okay.
Okay, does the commission feel they have enough information to close the public hearing? Is that, yes?
There was nothing audible.
All right, now if we feel we have
Yes.
enough
Yes, yes,
we
information,
do.
could somebody please make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks. All those in favor? Aye, okay, the public hearing is now closed. Does the commission feel they have enough information to deliberate the application?
So, since this is a rerun
Yes.
on the original, where I think, I'll speak for myself, but I think maybe for other people, we seem to be quite surprised at the end of that hearing to find out the volume of traffic and the disapproval by the Traffic Commission. And
I think the word we used was blindsided.
yeah. So, to the extent that I think the applicant has used actual empirical data rather than the ITE standards from a center that is visible from the highway, off an exit, same size parcel, same size
Community.
travel center.
Oh.
I personally, and apparently the Traffic Commission, can believe that that's appropriate data to use in analyzing this resubmission. To the extent that a problem's going to manifest. In the original application, if there were a traffic signal, it was going to manifest on Marsh Hill Road and impact everybody. Now, to the extent that there's, would be or can be a problem, it's going to be contained on site and borne by the people who are using the facility. So that's a significant difference to me personally. There's some minor housekeeping items on the plan, but it's the same one that we've been looking at.
I mean, I was impressed with the plan the first time. I was one of the ones blindsided by the Traffic Commission's report. I think they've cleaned up that portion of it. I think you're 100% right that the traffic will back up if at all and on the site. I think they did a nice job in presenting as they did last time. I think there's a need for it. I was going to rent a car, all they had was electric vehicles, and it was going to be a problem trying to charge them at home. Regular charging, 12 hours, 10 hours. This will make it much more viable. Yep.
I think the fact that the nearest existing signalization is almost 300 feet away is actually a dramatic improvement from having the signalization.
At the entrance, yeah. No, I think this revision has been very positive. Again, without this signalization, having empirical data from an existing location of a comparable sized community is all very helpful, more accurate, allows us to make a better decision. So if we feel we're ready to have a vote on the application, we can entertain that.
Ozzy's not here, and in general, on a special permit application, we should go through the conditions of the special permit as well as general,
Yeah, we have
to
to
check the
should
right
make the
boxes.
findings, right.
Yeah, for the correct findings.
Yep.
The special permit probably has its own little,
For an electric vehicle showroom, these are the special standards that they have to meet, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the subject property has to have frontage. Yeah, so the subject property must have frontage, or is immediately adjacent to a non-access highway lane, line of the Interstate 95 road, or its access ramps and frontage on Marsh Hill Road, which this property does have. The outdoor storage and display of electric vehicles are permitted, notwithstanding the provisions of the section of our Reg 383-121 regarding outdoor storage and displays. In addition, an electric vehicle center under this subsection may also include indoor and outdoor function space. Service and maintenance shall be limited solely to electric vehicles and shall not include servicing or maintenance of hybrid electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, or any vehicles with an internal combustion engine.
Was there testimony that they wouldn't have any, that on the last application, I remember?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
They confirmed, not tonight, but on their previous
Right, okay.
go-around, that all of it will be, it serves indoors, and it is purely for electric vehicles, correct. I have a copy of the POCD if you feel we need that. I mean,
No, just the special use permits. The-
What's the section number that you have there?
this is section 383-66, special uses in the LI2 district.
Right, so they meet those 4 points, but when you have a special use permit,
Sure.
you know, that it's harmonious with the neighborhood, which it is. Right, you can read that.
General.
Yep.
So general considerations, we can,
For special uses, the general considerations that we consider, the size and intensity of the proposed use and the size of the lot on which it's to be located. The effect the proposed use on any adopted comprehensive plan of development for the town. the capacity of adjacent and feeder streets to accommodate peak traffic loads and any traffic hazards that might be created by the use. We've covered that. We said if there's any problems, it's going to be on-site and not on the roadways. The effect upon which property values and appearance in the neighborhood, taking into account the topography of the lot and the character, location, and height, proposed buildings and structures, and the site plan and proposed landscaping. I think there won't be an issue there. It's right near 95. You know, it's a commercial use. The number, location, and arrangement of off-street parking and loading spaces and vehicular access to the lot. Fire and police protection needs, that's been addressed with the emergency access. Water supply, sewage disposal, facilities and drainage and erosion problems, that's all been addressed. And arrangement, design, and nature of any buildings and structures. So if we feel that it meets those general considerations, or
Get through it. I'll make a motion that we approve the application for special permit and use and site plan application submitted by Solely Engineering LLC for the property known as 88 Marsh Hill Road. The proposed development is 437 square foot community travel center with drive-through facility and a 23,500 electric vehicle showroom. I believe it meets the standards set up by 383-66H, I believe, the electric showroom.
In 383-136.
And
Special standards.
Yes, 136 as well, and also the considerations of the POCD, in that it's not only harmonious with the rest of the neighborhood, it certainly promotes economic growth and development. Judy, you had a couple of more points in the POCD, if you remember them. No, you don't. Okay. It certainly doesn't, it fits in with the rest of the neighborhood in that it's right next to 95 and Marsh Hill Road, a commercial area in the LI2. So for all those reasons, I move that we approve.
okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tom. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Carries unanimously. Welcome to Orange Noble Energy.
Sorry, Judy.
Oh.
You were looking for the location parameters.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
No,
Oh, those former studies. Okay. Yes. And actually, that's what I was doing with FedEx. And,
The numbers,
a few other developments.
numbers right?
Yeah, we're going to get there.
okay,
Don't-
so we'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting,
So moved.
okay? All those in favor? Aye?
Did we get
Oh.
a second?
Yeah.
Second,
Oh,
Second.
thank you.
Tom.